I love sex. I do. I do. I love the feeling of connection, the sensations, the raw vulnerability, pretty much everything about it. But I was raised in a strict religious culture that, in no uncertain terms, laid out for me the rules regarding sexual behavior. And let me tell you, having sex as a single gay man did not fall within those parameters. So when I first started engaging in sexual activity in my early 20s, shame became a regular guest at my dinner table. So let's talk a little bit about shame. Researcher Brene Brown differentiates between guilt and shame by saying guilt is, I did something bad. Shame is, I am bad. And if you have ever wrestled with a desire or a behavior that you believed was bad, you know how easy it is to cross over that thin line into the land of I am bad. So believing that I was bad because of my sexual activity, I quickly became a master at hiding. Hiding from the God that I'd been told was intolerant of bad behavior, and hiding from the people closest to me. I would engage in some sort of sexual activity, and then I would spend the next several days, sometimes weeks, doing whatever I could to just disappear, to numb out. I would blast the radio in my car. I'd stay glued to the television for hours until bed. I'd dive headlong into work. The shame that I felt over having betrayed my internal belief system was so pervasive and thick, I would do anything I could to avoid feeling it, including having more sex, because if there's one thing that shame is really, really good at, it is hurling you headlong back into the behavior that precipitated it. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, but Matt, having sex doesn't make you bad. But that didn't matter. What mattered was what I was believing about my behavior. What mattered was what had been seared into my DNA as a child that caused me to hear a voice whispering into my ear, you are bad. You are broken. Until you fix your behavior, you will never be okay. Those whispers kept me on what felt like the roller coaster from hell, and I honestly didn't know if or how I was ever going to be able to get off of it. Well, then about 2 years ago, I decided to attend a men's retreat, and I'm sitting on the floor in a circle with about 10 other guys. And the facilitator decides to steer the conversation toward the topic of shame. And he says, how many of you would be willing to admit that at some point along your life journey, you have viewed a part of yourself as so ugly and so unacceptable that you enacted a kind of emotional violence against yourself? I'll give you one guess where my brain went. I immediately started thinking about all of the years that I had spent just pummeling my inner psyche for choices I'd made that I believed were wrong. I thought about the cycle of hiding and secret keeping that had become so normal for me and yet was so exhausting. Sitting in that room with those men, I asked myself, Matt, what has all of this hiding and self-abuse accomplished for your life? Like, has it changed your behavior at all? Do you really want to go round and round in this vicious cycle for the rest of your days? And I thought, no, I really don't. I can't. I am so tired. Something's got to change. So I decided to conduct an experiment. I decided to envision shame as this hairy, Muppet-like monster. Go with me. And I envisioned all of the years that I had let this monster sit on my shoulder and whisper words of judgment and condemnation into my ear. All of the hours I'd spent cuddled up with him on the sofa when I thought that heaven was angry with me and that self-abuse was my only option. This monster, this shame-wielding monster, he was familiar to me. He was oddly comfortable, and yet he had done so much damage. He had literally caused me to hate myself, to split in two. And while the idea of letting go of something so familiar terrified me, I so badly wanted to know what it would be like to feel fully connected to myself, to feel integrated and whole. I suspect that a lot of us, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us know what it's like to hear a voice inside of us whisper words of wisdom and guidance when we most need it. Some of us might call that voice God or a higher power. Others might call it our conscience or just our gut. I had spent so many years letting that shame-whispering monster suck up all the oxygen in the room and drown out my inner voice. For once, I wanted to know what it would be like to hear that inner voice whisper to me, Matt, you are amazing, exactly as you are, full stop. So, one afternoon I did it. I grabbed that shame monster mentally by the collar, threw him out into the front yard, slammed the door shut, and I turned the deadbolt. And then, as part of my experiment, I logged onto a popular hookup app, and I spent the entire evening in bed with a complete stranger. Well, waking up the next morning, sure as anything, there's the shame monster, scratching at the front door of my brain. He was loud. I was used to that. But instead of letting him in, I envisioned myself looking out the window, looking him dead in the eyes and saying to him, I see you and I hear you, but you do not get to play a role in my life today. And then I plopped down on my sofa and I attempted to have a conversation with my inner voice. What's up? The voice immediately responded, hey, Maddie, so tell me all about last night. And I was like, okay, well, this is new. And the voice said, no, really, tell me every single detail. And I said, no. And the voice said, really, go ahead. He just sat there, smiling, waiting. The silence was killing me, so I relented. Last night, well, it was fun. And the voice said, well, yeah, it's supposed to be. So tell me, what was like your favorite part? And I thought, oh, I know what's happening here. He's trying to trap me. So I played along. My favorite part, well, the guy was, he was sexy. And the voice said, oh, he was, wasn't he? Isn't that the best? What else? Tell me more. And I thought, okay, you want to go there? I can go there. Game on. So I launched into a detailed description of the previous night's activities. And let me tell you, I got graphic, like NC-17 graphic. I'm thinking he's going to cave, he's going to shut down, he's going to cry uncle, something. Nothing. So I blurt out a sexual description that is so over the top, crude. I'm confident he's going to get up and run out screaming. How does he respond? Oh, that must have felt amazing. And with that, the dam inside me just broke. I literally burst into tears, buried my face in my palms. I couldn't even look at him. And a few moments pass, and he says to me, Maddie, what's going on? And I'm literally just sobbing. 25 years of white-knuckled secret keeping and hiding are being unleashed in me like this tidal wave. And I said, you have no idea how much I have needed this. This is me. This is who I am. And I don't think it's ever going to change, so it might never change. And the voice looked at me and he said, Matt, you know the you that you just unveiled to me, like the real you? Man, it's the you I like the most. It's the you that I've always liked the most. I, of course, was not buying it. And I said to him, no, I know the rules. I was raised with the rules. That's not how this works. And the voice said to me, can I ask you a question, Matt? How did last night make you feel? And I said, truth? And he said, always. I felt seen, felt wanted. I get really lonely sometimes, and I don't always know what to do with the lonely. So And the voice looked at me and he said, "And how do you feel right now?" Honestly, I don't think I've ever felt closer to you in my whole life. "How do you feel?" I asked him. And he said, Same. Well, waking up over the next several mornings, first thought came to my brain was, I cannot wait to talk to that voice. And whether I was sitting in my car at a stoplight or cooking chicken on my stove, if I would start talking to him, there he would be, big eyes, big smile, fully invested. And I would just start unloading, right? The stuff that excited me, the stuff that scared me, the stuff that hurt, all of it, unfiltered, unguarded, I just let it all out. And that voice just listened, just asked questions curiously, tried to get underneath the behavior, to the core, to the root, to the heart of what was really going on inside of me. I would go to him feeling angry or lonely or horny, and I would walk away feeling seen and accepted and actually understood. And here's what is fascinating. If I would go to him feeling angry or lonely or horny, and I'd be, craving a fix, like say sex, if I could just get myself to start talking out loud to him, the intensity of that craving would slowly start to dissipate and be replaced by this almost indescribable sense of calm, to the point where I'd actually realize I don't need the fix anymore. I'm okay. There's a saying in recovery circles, we are only as sick as our secrets. Interestingly, there is research to support this idea, and it links shame-based thinking habits with increased anxiety, depression, impaired decision-making, social avoidance, substance abuse, maladaptive behaviors. The list goes on. In short, if I want to experience dis-ease within my person, I should absolutely keep telling myself that I'm bad and that I'm broken. Or I can toss my shame monster out into the front lawn, get really honest and open with this inner voice and listen and allow it to respond. Oh, I love this. Tell me more. Because when I do that, when I hear and feel that kind of unconditional acceptance coming from within me, not anywhere outside of me, but from within me, something inside me shifts, and I actually start looking for ways to be kind to myself, to engage with life more authentically and honestly, and to live in a way that actually fuels the best, most alive, most integrated version of me. So since hearing this story, several friends have said to me, "So Matt, have you gone celibate?" And I laugh. No, I have not. However, what I have noticed is that my relationship to sex has very much changed. These days, I can really quickly spot when my craving for it stems from a desire to just numb myself from an unwelcome emotion, and when it's simply a desire for connection. And being able to hold that desire in my hand and turn it over and examine it objectively without the shame whisperings in my ear, it is changing the way I make decisions in a way that a focus on behavioral modification never, ever, ever could. So, if you are someone who happens to wrestle or struggle with shame in any form, meaning desire or behavior makes you feel like you are bad or broken, I want to encourage you, I want to invite you to just try something. First, grab a pen and jot down whatever those desires or behaviors are, right? Get really honest about them, whatever they are for you. And as you look at them on the page, ask yourself, how is seeing myself as bad or broken affecting my relationship with me? Is it making me more loving, more compassionate? Is it making my life better? Is it taking me and my life in a direction that I want to go, or am I just staying stuck? Secondly, ask yourself if a change in perspective might be more productive. Might you be willing to experiment with trying a new perspective on for size? And third, and finally, and this one honestly takes some childlike bravery. Try tossing your shame monster out into the front lawn, even just for 5 minutes, and then start a conversation with your own inner voice. Ask it questions. Allow it to ask you questions in return. Experiment with perceiving those questions through the lens of curiosity rather than judgment. And then just notice how it feels inside. Imagine for a moment, imagine walking through your life without the weight and the whispers of shame. Imagine sitting in your car at a stoplight or making chicken at your stove and saying to your inner voice, I want to tell you the deepest, darkest, scariest thing going on inside me right now. And hearing that voice respond, oh, thank you. I live for this. Tell me everything.